What's up, YouTube? I promised that I would have a video about what's the difference between the short-term girl and the long-term girl. And the long-term girl generally means marriage material, and while the short-term girl generally is maybe short-term serious relationship, if that. Okay, so what I think a man considers a short-term girl is how I talked about in my other videos, usually based on first impression. So if you meet a guy at a club, you are sexually dressed or you are dressed, even if you're dressed covered all the way up. If you're drinking excessively or maybe you just have one drink, first impressions can throw that off. Now, it doesn't in all circumstances, but as we know, men and women, but mostly men, view us from a sexual angle at first. So when seeing you in this environment, that is what they're going to that's the category they're going to put you in. Then it makes the case harder for you because you've got to work away from that. And I'll give you an example. When my sisters came to visit, they wanted to go to a strip club. I'm not big on strip clubs, but I'm not adamantly against them. And so I said, okay, we'll go. And, they were out of town and I was really happy. So we went to a strip club and I met a guy there, and which is weird. But this strip club was more like a club where people walk around and drink and talk and stuff. Couples were in there. And so, it wasn't like he got up from a chair. He was younger than me. He was 21. I was 24. And he came up to me and so we exchanged numbers. And thereafter, we tried to have a respectable conversation and getting to know each other. And he was just saying that it was probably, we met under the wrong circumstances. And I truly believe that we did. He was in college. I was in finishing professional school. And as far as what I saw, I didn't really think anything of it. But what I mean is that the case was harder for me because even though he had high expectations for me because of where I was at in my life, where he was at in his life, it was hard to look up. And so he wasn't calling, he was just trying to merely text. Our first time we were supposed to get together, he canceled. Very behavior that showed that he wanted a short-term type of relationship. And when I did meet him out one night, I'm sorry, I had to go where he was at, and we actually met at another club, which was mistake number two. And I saw him looking at some girls' tattoos and touching on her back right in front of me. He had no clue that he had done anything wrong because that was the acceptable norm for what he is interested in. And I had to work 10 times harder to say, hey, I'm not this type of girl. I don't like this. So that's what I mean by that. You're going to have to really work hard to focus their attention on something other than where you met. And how you start a relationship is sometimes how you end it. So, I've learned and I've tried to get other women to understand that to be considered long term, you've got to first realize that you are going to weed a lot of people out. I'm going to say it one more time. In order to be a long-term woman, which means that you are on marriage game, you are marriage material, simply and purely, you're going to have to weed a lot of men out. Okay? So your stereotypical men, ghetto men, thug men, professional men on game, gay men, whatever, you're going to have to do a lot of weeding. And so what I mean by that is that you might meet someone, you say, okay, everything seems like it's good, but you set your standards so high at the beginning that they know that they're not, if they don't meet those expectations, they're going to dwindle away. And most of the time, it's going to seem like they are eliminating you. But what it really is that you're too much work and they're not, and they want something short term. So don't get that confused with when I say in my other videos, someone that's unrealistic, someone that doesn't understand their wants from their needs. No, I'm not saying that you meet a young man and you say, well, you're not driving a Porsche, so I can't do it. That's not setting your standards high. What I mean is saying, okay, when the situation presents itself, I'm not having sex. Okay, I until I feel comfortable, I don't want to kiss or exchange in a way like that. Um, I'm I don't you know I don't have late night phone calls when I initially meet someone. You're not coming over my house when I initially meet someone. I'm not coming over your house to watch movies late at night when I meet someone. Um, I don't have any problem telling you what my value system is. And a recent one that I did actually was pretty funny. I used it as sometimes you got ladies. Sometimes you have got to just test yourself. You've got to test others and try it out, even when you know the guy is not what you're interested in. But I was out at a professional networking event, which went left a little bit because it became a regular party. But I had a guy, oh, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. And so what I told him is, I said, well, I'm willing to give you my phone number, but only if you call me. I don't want a situation where you're trying to get to know me through text messaging. I prefer if you call me. So if you're not going to be able to call me, I understand. But I will give you my phone number if you call. And you can guess what happened. Oh yeah, I'll definitely call you. He never did because he's partying. He's looking for something short term. So don't, you might be alone for a while, but I feel like a real man is going to be definitely interested by that. And you can say it in a very nice way. You don't have to say it the way I did. You don't have to have a negative undertone to it. But you just simply say, oh, well, I actually don't really like to do the texting. I would appreciate if you call me. You don't have to say it the way I did. But those are the things that you have to do up front to establish yourself. You've got to be aware of your gestures. You've got to be aware of your body language with a man. Even when no man has approached you when you're out. So if you are at a networking event or you're out, um, don't don't overdo it in your sexual dress. Don't I saw this show. I was watching The Real Housewives of New York, and this photographer was interviewing ex model about for Playboy about her posing nude, and I mean she was first of all the situation is all wrong, but she was laughing. Oh yeah, I'm just nervous. And, you're flirting with me. You're cute. Guys don't like it when you're airheads. They think that you have low self-esteem or you don't even get it. And no, that is not wife material. That's a pushover, or that's not a healthy relationship if he's gonna pursue you. When you start acting like that, she was looking down a lot. She was smiling every minute he talked. And I guess he asked for a number, and I don't know what the show concluded, but I can tell you that he concluded he immediately put her in a short term girlfriend category. So I'm gonna make part two to this because I've gotta break it down a lot. But yeah, simply, ladies, you have to. It's like when you look for a book and you say, I want a romantic book. Oh, I want a comedy book. Oh, I want a horror book. I want an autobiography. Okay, the title is going to help a lot of people determine the flat out immediately what you're about, and guys can read that. And so I'll talk about the transformation in part two, but initial interest, it really is determined by your circumstances, how you carry yourself, also how if you are in an environment when there are a lot of men attracted to you, if you're talking and flirting with every single one, that's a big no-no right there. You're short term. I was out, I think I was 21 or 22, and I was out at a college party, and I had quite a bit of guys talking to me, and some guy was trying to talk to me. I heard his friend say, man, don't talk to her. She's talking to all the guys. He wasn't hating. He was right. What do you do? What is so interesting about all these men that you're talking to? So we'll follow up on this.